I promise that I'm not going to talk about the Cybertruck bottle openers every single issue, every single episode from now on, but I'm going to talk about it today, but not right now. So let's get into the program right away here. Let's start with a new issue. Elon says that the Cybercab will be around $30,000, but the Cybercab will be forced to be FSD equipped. It's the only way it can drive it. So you can't charge extra, right? It has to be included in the 30,000. Some folks, I think maybe the limiting factor might have mentioned this, that he thinks, well, yeah, that's right. He says it right here. Yeah, so he says, I think the robotaxi is going to cost less than 30,000, including the cost of FSD, according to Elon. That's because it can't drive without FSD. That is, I think the production cost of the vehicle is going to be less than 20,000, and there'll be $10,000 in profit. I think maybe it will be even less expensive to build than that. Maybe it'll be 15,000 with 15,000 in profit. But in any case, it's interesting to think about because part of the deal on Robotaxi was how much it was going to massively increase the profit when the person purchased the car for the purposes of doing Robotaxis. So I've been questioning this for a while. And as you well know, and so nobody will be buying this car, apparently. I mean, you'll be able to buy this car for 30,000, but most people, like hardly anybody's going to be buying it as their get around car. They're going to be buying it to put it out on the network, I think. Maybe some people will buy it for themselves. Anyway, that raises that whole issue again of how much Tesla is going to charge for the full self-driving. Will it be still a subscription? Will that just be part of your overall cost of ownership when you are a business of putting your car out to get rides? Anyway, a bunch of questions that raised. Thanks so much for raising a brand new issue. All right. Also, from the limiting factor, Tesla LFP battery cells are now inbound. There is a position open for a lead engineer of LFP batteries. He says this could either be for the prismatic cells that they're planning on building in Nevada with the CATL line, or it could be an LFP 4680, or it could be both. He says, in his view, it's likely to be the 4680 will be the LFP. They'll do an LFP also. So the idea would be maybe out of the 4 lines that they're going to have, 8 lines, the 8 lines that they're going to have at Austin, maybe some of those will be LFP, or they're going to end up having, I think it's 10 lines, no, more than that, 5 times 4. They're going to have 20 lines up in Nevada. So maybe some of those will be LFP, maybe all of them would be LFP. I don't know. Anyway, so he says the CATL partnership they're probably working through or with CATL to get the cathode material for those cells. With all that said, he continues, I don't expect to see an LFP 4680 this side of 2026. Well, that's really close. We're talking, it's only 15 months to 2026. All right. The timeline seems to be fit for supplying LFP 4680 battery cells for the Cybercab. Could be, maybe. All right, this is breaking from Sawyer Merritt. SpaceX has just received their official FAA approval for Saturday's 5th flight test. With this 5th flight, SpaceX will attempt to catch the Super Heavy booster in midair for the first time. And that is scheduled, of course, for tomorrow. I haven't looked up the time yet. Sorry, I should have done that, and I should have sent that along to you. I'm sure it's easy enough to do. I certainly plan to be, if I have to get up early, I have to get up early, but I'm going to be watching that one. All right. Well, Tesla Larry, speaking of people that are going to be down there tomorrow, who's already there, actually, he says, I'm back at Starbase for my 5th visit since 2020. I interrupted that. I'm sorry if there was an abrupt interruption there. Bradford Ferguson was calling me. He and I will be putting together a show after I finish this one for tomorrow morning. So when you wake up tomorrow morning early, well, depending on where you live in the country, I guess I'll probably publish probably be out at about 7-ish, 7:30 in California. All right. So he says he's back at Starbase for his fifth visit since 2020 and his second launch viewing. There, I see lots of other launches, but the second that he'll be seeing there. It is very difficult to put into words. I don't have the vocabulary, he says. That would not be true for Larry. To characterize the spirit and the camaraderie of the people that are visiting this place. It is really a place that only can be adequately described as holy, small h, given the reverence that people evidence towards the great and lofty goals of SpaceX's leader and its people. Okay, well, speaking of Brad Ferguson, this is what he said today. After further review, and that's what he and I will be talking about in detail tomorrow morning. He says one possibility is that the Tesla bots' movements at the show, at the event, were autonomous. Perhaps the movements were not from teleoperation. Maybe they were only voiced by humans. Maybe they were only voiced by humans, but the rest of the activity was by autonomy itself. Well, Jeff Lutz seemed to agree in concept that maybe part one and part the other. I really want to hear from Scott on this subject, but in a few minutes, Bradford and I will discuss it, and tomorrow morning we'll try to take a look at all kinds of different views, and maybe Scott doesn't know either. We'll find out at some point. Scott will stop ghosting me. So this is from Rains 1220, RAINES. Now that I know Cybercab was running FSD version 13 during the 1010 event, I can confirm that FSD version 13 is incredibly smooth. It doesn't even feel human. Like I've never seen anyone drive that smoothly. At first, I thought it was because Cybercab was special, but credit should also go to the FSD 13. However, there's still a very minor clicking sound. He had mentioned in a previous post of his when it hesitates about whether to move again, which is how I immediately knew it was autonomous and not teleoperated. Are there any clicking noises in those bots? Anyway, all right, from Peggy, Curious Peggy, I guess that's how I pronounce it. I had him on the show once, didn't I? When Tesla unveiled the Model Y, the stock dropped 5% the next day. 5% after the announcement of the Model Y. Hear that? When Tesla unveiled the Cybertruck, the stock dropped 6% the next day, even though the lines were overwhelmed with people ordering them. When Tesla signed the Shanghai Megapack factory deal, the stock dropped 2% the next day. When Tesla unveiled the bot, the Optimus, in 2022 on AI Day, the stock dropped 3% the next day. And when Tesla unveiled the Robotaxi on 1010, the stock dropped 8% the next day. Don't forget that owning a fleet of 10 of this, I'm sorry, that was a new subject. I forgot those, some kind of a mark to make, never mind. Okay. It's supposed to be a fourth wall here. I break it all the time. How are you guys doing anyway? Don't forget that owning a fleet of 10,000 cars is costly. Bank of America analyst John Murphy, I think this is from Barron's, who had a more favorable view of the event than most, still suggested that Tesla might consider raising new equity capital to fund a large investment in robotaxis and robotics. I don't think so, but that's what Bank of America thought. That is just and this is from Barron's, that is just a guess made necessary partly because there was little in the way of detailed discussions. CEO Elon Musk was the only speaker at the 1010 event, not counting a brief introduction by Tesla's head designer, Franz von Holzhausen. Musk also talked only for about 20 minutes, mainly reiterating prior talking points. Yeah, we all noticed that. Before closing with, let's get the party started. While we are certainly believers in Tesla succeeding in autonomy and humanoid robotics, wrote Deutsche Bank analyst Edison Yu in a Friday report, we generally came away underwhelmed by the lack of details disclosed and the short length of the Cybercab demo ride. He was present at the event, and while there were rides in self-driving taxi, they were in a tightly controlled space in a Hollywood movie studio, Warner Brothers. That just isn't all that difficult to do. The tests were more akin to a vision of the future than a demonstration of how vehicles would operate in the real world. That's absolutely true. Without a more substantial presentation, Tesla's target for robotaxi service to begin in 2025 brought to mind Musk's repeated predictions that self-driving Teslas are a year away, are 2 weeks away. He has made that call essentially every year since 2016. There was a wide range of opinions among roughly 60 analysts who cover Tesla stock, but the general review was that the entire event left them wanting more. That's what you should always do. Leave them wanting more. Do I do that? I don't know. Investors' reactions appear similar. I was underwhelmed, said Future Fund active ETF co-founder and Tesla shareholder Gary Black. Yeah, the biggest issue was Elon didn't explain how Tesla gets from supervised driver assistant products to unsupervised autonomy. Tesla's shares dropped 8.8% on Friday, underperforming the S&P, as we already mentioned. Tesla, to some extent, is responsible for the fact that expectations were high. The event was delayed for about 2 months so that Musk could do some more stuff. So, yeah, and he talked about it being historic. So, yes, I agree. I said that. That was one of the first things I said on my very first review. Another thing might have been RoboVan. The other thing, or one more thing might have been the RoboVan. But Tesla investors are trained to discount prototypes like that that Tesla showed. As Musk has said many times, prototypes are easy, production is hard. Overall, they gave the Robotaxi Day grade a C minus. The silver lining for investors is the disappointment doesn't have to mean disaster for the stock. Barron's wrote recently that it's possible to justify $200 a share for Tesla EV and powered storage business. Another anything above that is a bet tied to Musk. Shares closed at 217 on Friday. Robotaxi Day might have been a flop, but Musk is still Musk. Part of this article was written using SpaceX Starlink Wi-Fi at the EV Showcase Electrify Expo on Long Island, New York. Tesla's Cybertruck was there and was clearly generating the most buzz. Optimus getting great headlines after the 1010. That's one thing I noticed. I didn't see one negative headline about Optimus. I didn't take time to read the articles, but the headlines were all very positive. By the way, this is Randy Kirk. I know it's taken me a long time to get to that. Hit the like and the subscribe and the notify. Remember, I've got Bradford Ferguson in the morning. I've got the regular Sunday night program that we call Monday Morning, where we talk about the various things that you'll be wanting to watch for next week. And of course, next week is really the beginning of earnings season. Bloomberg says the Fed researchers find that Americans across income groups are able to spend more than they did 6 years ago. So if you take all the folks out there, they're spending more than they did 6 years ago. But they conclude that recent consumer resilience has been driven by the middle and high income households, while lower earners pulled back and only recently recovered to mid-2021 levels in real average retail spending. The data concluded one possible driver of this divergence is that higher income households are enjoying a wealth effect from great gains in housing and stock markets, and also receive more interest in investment income during periods of higher interest rates, also providing a stimulus for sustained levels of spending. This is from Leo Feller and Jack Shilak. These are Fed economists. Now, who's been saying this? Who's been saying everything that you just heard? Well, that's why I took this article. No, I'm kidding. It's just more confirmation. The Fed's bottom-up study of retail spending is based on numbers provided by consumer data company Numerator, which collects receipts from a panel of 150,000 researchers that say this database on household spending is overall a good match for the retail sales figures that come from businesses, boosting confidence in this distributional breakdown. Analyzing the numbers by demographic segments, the researchers found that retail spending has been stronger among more educated workers, and they find a divergence from the pre-pandemic years when the growth was more even. Everybody was growing at about the same rate. By housing standards, the data showed that renters, who tend to be low income, experienced by far the largest increase in retail spending at the outset of the pandemic, because they got these big checks, but now show the smallest overall gains since 2018. Long-term homeowners who had the opportunity to lock in low fixed rate mortgages in 20 and 21 have more disposable income to sustain higher spending on goods and services. Real retail spending for those recent owner households has been declining since mid-22 to the present, which corresponds to the time that they purchased their homes. All right, and here we get the last one. NPR says several hundred 7-Eleven stores across North America are closing. The company's CEO reported in an earnings call on Thursday that they're closing these underperforming locations, citing inflation pressures, slowed traffic, a decline in cigarette sales, and a shift in consumer appetites. So the reason I'm talking about this, because I'm not going to go into detail here, is I wonder if some of these 7-Elevens are having to close because they're not able to sell as much gasoline. I still have been in a few 7-Elevens in the last year, but not like it would have been back in the days when you went in there and got some gas and then you went into the 7-Eleven. Not quite the same. All right, well, that's all I got for you right now, except I want to bring up the Cybercab, whatever that thing's called, Cybertruck bottle opener, because it's getting close to Christmas. All the information is down below, but remember the big difference this year, if you guys were with me last year, is now you can paint them up any way you want to. You got to buy 6 to do it, that many. You have to buy 6 in order to get your custom ones. But you can put your company brand, you get something that you want to do for a party, you can put them on there and create a really unique party favor. Think of it like any kind of a pen or a badge or some kind, all those kind of things that you would buy from a custom imprint service. So, but you only have to buy 6 to get the deal. Okay, it's not expensive. So anyway, all the information down below of how you can do the custom one, as well as, of course, the regular deal that we have on the stainless steel and the ones that have the camouflage. That all hasn't changed, same as last year. No price increase here. Okay, still get it at the old price. So look down below to find that information and get started now, because especially if you're going to do custom imprinting, you want to make sure you got time to go back and forth, because sometimes the first time you don't quite get, and that can be any color, 4 color, 12 colors, doesn't matter, any variety of colors that you want to use. All right, does that all make sense? That's all I got for you right now. It's been grand talking to you.